Welcome back, everyone, to the Bitcoin Business Bureau. As always, I'm your host, Litecoin Leader. We're talking ALTCOINopoly. We're talking coins once again. Now, we have a special coin today because some people don't think it's an altcoin, and technically it is not. That's a strong hint as to what coin we're going to be talking about today. But this coin has to be part of any balanced portfolio in cryptocurrency, has to be monitored no matter what. It's part of the major player in the marketplace, and you have to respect it. So with that said, let's dive right into the coin, some news, some charts, and see where it stands and get what space it belongs on the board.
Just a quick reminder that nothing in this video is considered financial advice. I am not your financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Seek out your own advice and do your own diligence, do your own research. So, of course, the way that we start today is looking at the ALTCOINopoly board, and we're going to spend some time again in Zone 4. Zone 4 is the right side of the board, as mentioned earlier in a few videos. Hopefully you're keeping track and keeping all your spaces and your coins correct. Zone 4 is what we call the top tier, and that is the right side of the board. Now, there's two spaces that we're going to be focusing on this week. One is for all of our YouTube subscribers, and there's a free video. The other one is going to be sort of a sister coin to it in a way, but that's only for subscribers. So today's coin is a coin that you may not think of as an altcoin, but it should be part of any balanced portfolio. Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin had to be somewhere on the board. Now you're going to be wondering, why is this part of ALTCOINopoly? Why is Bitcoin, Bitcoin is the only coin that's not an altcoin. But to be balanced, similar to when I did the video, I think it was video number 5 for this square, you need to have alternative ways to store your profits. Not financial advice, but if you're stacking sats, you need somewhere to stack your sats to. And I think it would be disingenuous to say that you should have 0 Bitcoin. You shouldn't have 100% Bitcoin, but the right answer is somewhere between 1 and 99%. Not financial advice, but you can sort of scale it yourself there. Bitcoin has been around for 12 years. It's the #1 coin in the marketplace. It has, we've been over this. I'll talk about the Bitcoin dominance shortly. But Bitcoin should be part of the portfolio, and it's a top tier coin. It's more than half the market. Will probably remain that way for at least the balance of 2021, if not longer. But Bitcoin, as Bitcoin goes, so does the market right now, until the rest of the coins decouple from it and start moving and tracking on their own. But Bitcoin deserves a spot on the board. It is one of the top 30 coins for certain in any balanced portfolio, and deserves a spot on the board right here. So Bitcoin had to be discussed as one of the coins here. It just had to be. It's a top 30 coin for sure in any portfolio, but the news is going to be handled a little bit differently for this video. It's just, if you don't know what Bitcoin is by this point and you're watching cryptocurrency videos, hopefully you can find there's a billion videos out there to explain what Bitcoin is about. Here's just one example. Bitcoin was launched in 2009. It's been around for 12 years. It reduces its supply every 4 years. It's created by miners that are doing proof of work. So, and there's only ever going to be 21 million coins. And that was discussed. The reason I'm discussing Bitcoin right now is because of the conference going on. That's one of the reasons I thought it's a good time to talk about it. Also, some of the other coins I want to talk about as well. But the timing is pretty good. Now, Bitcoin, right now in Miami, the largest Bitcoin conference in history is going on right now. Ticket prices notwithstanding, there's been a lot of people that are there, both June 4th and 5th this weekend, talking about Bitcoin. You have Michael Saylor, you have Max Kaiser, you name the person, they're probably there. I'd say 2/3 of at least a half of the influencers are there. A lot of the bigger names in Bitcoin are there. But Bitcoin is being talked about a lot, which is good for the industry that we're talking about Bitcoin, Elon Musk notwithstanding. And it's important that we talk about Bitcoin and where it is in the marketplace. So Bitcoin has been the #1 coin for a while. It's the only asset. The Winklevoss twins also gave a nice interview, and they dropped a few very important points when they were talking to Anthony Pompliano, otherwise known as Pomp. This is the only asset, they call it an asset class, but this is the only asset that's out there that we know exactly how much there's ever going to be. You cannot say that about anything, including gold. They could find gold somewhere else. They could find it on Mars, on the moon, on an asteroid, in a mountain in Africa that they don't let people go and get. I'll let you find that story. And then you don't know how much gold there is in the world. So if you find more gold, supply and demand. So more supply, less demand, price should go down. Bitcoin, we know what the supply is. We know it specifically, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But it's the only asset that we know that's completely fixed on the amount that's ever going to be. And as demand goes up, price will go up because supply is fixed. Basic economics there. Now, a lot of people talk about Bitcoin dominance, and here's a chart from TradingView. Bitcoin, for the most part, has always been in the high 60s to 70 range, except for the last few months. And while everybody is talking about the recent tumble in the Bitcoin price from the 60s down to the 30s, what's really happening and what people need to take note of is that the altcoins are actually doing better against Bitcoin overall in the last couple of months. Bitcoin dominance has dropped below 50% and may stay there for a while, which is a strong sign of alt season happening, or altcoin season. So another reason why you want to have Bitcoin in your portfolio is to keep track, because not only do you want to stack your sats somewhere, but you also want to keep a pulse on what Bitcoin's doing versus the rest of the altcoins. So turning your eyes away from the altcoin dominance for a moment, we talk about the production rate of Bitcoin. Every 4 years, supply gets cut in half. Here's a rack of miners, for example, that are mining Bitcoin, which is how it gets done by proof of work. But I'm going to blow up this particular image right here, which shows the inflation rate of Bitcoin versus time. Since every 4 years, you cut the inflation rate, and it goes down and down and down. As we get to 2021, we had another halving. Actually happened in 2020, I believe. And then the supply of Bitcoin gets closer and closer to its ultimate supply. We're nearing 90% of all the Bitcoin that's ever been produced have already been mined. As supply starts to trickle down and the halving rates get cut in half every 4 years, there's going to be less and less ability to get Bitcoin because it's such a fixed asset. And it's going to be harder and harder because of the supply. And this is the basis of what Plan B represents in his stock to flow ratio. If you've not seen this, this is a theoretical versus an actual of where we're at as far as the stock to flow. And every halving, you see the halving was happening in late 2020. You see the prices versus the stock to flow tends to track this chart very well. So it tends to overextend and then settles down and basically lives on the white line for a little while. And then as the halving happens again, it starts to follow up. That's where we're at right now. That's why a lot of people are saying that we're going to be over 100,000 before the end of 2021. And we may overshoot it. We don't know, because the difference between 100,000 and a million on a log scale here is significant in a lot of pocketbooks. So could it hit 250? Could it hit 400? We don't know yet. But this is by Plan B, which is his Twitter handle is 100 trillion USD. He's been publishing this a lot. A lot of people like this metric and track it reasonably well because it tends to play out over time. Now, once again, we have to look at the charts, and I'm hesitant to do this because there's about 1,000 or so other YouTubers that are putting out charts on Bitcoin. But I'll give you my interpretation of the charts. Take it for what you like, not financial advice. But here's what I'm seeing, and I'm going to start in the big picture of Bitcoin. This chart is a monthly chart that goes back 7 years. Now, the reason I want to point out this chart is because there's only ever been one time in the history of this chart where there's been 6 green monthly candles in a row. And it happened quite recently. It happened starting in October of 2020, and it ramped up from 10,000 all the way up to nearly 60,000. Technically, it stopped in 58,000 because it went to 60 and came back before the month closed. That's never happened before. So, but we have some other time frames where we had 3 green candles in a row back in the peak of 2017, 2018. We also had a nice run up in 2019. And we had similar retracements back thereafter. But what I wanted to show here is that there's a number of people that talk about what's a healthy retracement for a bull market. In a bull market, you can't go up straight up forever. But a 50% pullback is a common retracement that people want to see in a healthy market because it gives people time to take a breather. The market readjusts itself, shakes out a few softer hands, paper hands versus diamond hands. We've all heard those terms of late. And it just gives gives the coin a chance to regroup and then get ready for more gains. So on the monthly scale right here, we can just show, as I measure, we go from 10,000 up to 58,000. That's a $48,000 move. The half of that, from 58 down to 10, that'd be 24,000. So 24,000 down from 58,000 would put you at 34,000. If we take a look at this monthly candle, it ended at 35.9. Close enough. That's roughly your 50%. So does it tell me it's going to head straight up from here? No. But it does show me that this has been the 50% pullback that people said is healthy for the marketplace. Now, I'm going to zoom in now, but first I wanted to point out that a lot of people want to look back at history of 2017 and 2019 and say, are we going to have this long, slow point in time where we're going 6 months to a year without a healthy turn-up? It's possible, but I really think that this marketplace has matured enough and that the diversification in all of crypto is enough that there's so much demand now for Bitcoin, and the supply is half as much as it was back in the 2017 to 2020 phase because of the halvening in 2020, that this is probably good. This is going to be a shorter time frame than it was after the peaks in 2019 or even 2017. So zooming in, we're now looking at the daily. This is a daily chart for roughly the last 6 to 8 months. So what I've done is I've put some Fibonacci lines on here. Let me zoom in first before I give the whole story away, which I probably did already, but that's okay. So looking from October to April, that whole 6-month time frame where we had 6 green monthly candles, we ran up from the 10,000 range to roughly the $60,000 range. So what I've done here is I've done what's called a Fibonacci retracement and a Fibonacci scale. So I've said that this is a wave, an Elliott wave, where we've gone up. We saw that in the 6-month chart. We went up and then we pulled back 50% since that peak roughly in the April-May timeframe. And we're now sitting in the $35,000 to $36,000 range as we sit here today. So if we look this on Elliott wave theory, which is another technique I'll explain at some point in another video, but a 50% pullback is also very common in that space. But what you do is you measure a Fibonacci retracement to see where are we going to go. That's what everybody wants. Everyone wants to know the future. Well, we can't predict the future perfectly, but what we can do is use previous tools and tools that are out there in the marketplace to say, well, what's a reasonable expectation if things play out like they have in the past? And a pullback, a 50% pullback, typically, not always, but what will happen in a healthy market is that the next wave up will go 160% to 260% of the size of this retracement wave. So let's pull that line away. So this retracement wave has gone from 36,000 to 60,000. And if I measure that from a 0 to a 1 on the chart will give me a 1.6 to a 2.6, called a Fibonacci extension, which will take us to somewhere around 80,000 to over 100,000. Do I think that that's going to happen immediately? No. What I think is more likely to happen, let's see if I can actually draw. Let's see how this will work. But I'm going to attempt to draw here. So what I think is going to happen, this is just my opinion, but I think that it's impossible to know if we're going to go to the 1.6, if we're even going to get there, or if we're going to go all the way up to the 2.6 number. But what I think is probably going to happen is at some point, I can't tell when, but at some point we're going to go, please let me draw. All right, I think I figured out how to draw. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to go from somewhere around here. We're going to go up to about this line, around 80,000. We're going to pull back to around the previous high of 60,000. And then that's when we're going to head up to around the $100,000 mark. That's my interpretation where we're going to head. Ignore the ABC thing. That's just allowed me to draw this chart. But what I think is going to happen is that we're going to get to here. And if this is a pullback, right, this wave goes from 36 to 80. So now that's a $44,000 move. Now remember the 50% pullback. The 80 pullback may get to 64, which is not even 22,000. It may pull back to less. It may go down. Okay, I'm able to move the chart now. So as I'm learning how to draw these charts. So this This pullback may actually go below 60,000 because the difference between 36,000, where I started, and 80,000, that's a 64,000. Is that right? 36, 64? No, it's 36 and it's 44. So half of that is 22. So 22 from 80 is 58. So it may come down to say 57, 58,000 and then go up. So that may be more what we look like. So that could very well happen. It's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen, but this is the most likely outcome in my mind. And it kind of matches what I've heard from other people. Some people say that we're going to hit 64,000 3 times. This would actually cross it 4 times because we've already, unless you say that we never got there. But this to me makes the most sense in the way that the path to 100,000. And I think that could happen certainly this year. Do I think it happens by Halloween? I'm not certain. But I think that we're more likely to go up than down from here. But again, there's no predicting this. This is just what the chart is telling me. Not financial advice.
And there's the coin for today. No surprise, it's Bitcoin, the #1 coin in all of cryptocurrency. It's been the lead dog for 12 years. It is the granddaddy of them all. It's what everybody measures against. Therefore, it has to be part of any portfolio. It could be 1%, it could be 99%, it could be anywhere in between. Not financial advice, but I think anyone who's in cryptocurrency has to keep track of Bitcoin because it's such a dominant force in the marketplace. Yes, it's not the 50% or more that it used to be, but for the foreseeable future, it's going to be the #1 on the charts, regardless of what chart you use. And when everybody talks about cryptocurrency, the #1 coin they think about, no, not Doge, Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the #1 coin that drives everything else. So you have to keep a track on it. You have to monitor how it's doing. Most people speak of and think of Bitcoin first and foremost when they talk about cryptocurrency. It's the #1 most identifiable coin and well-known coin in the marketplace. So you have to respect it and track it and keep it on your watch and keep it in your portfolio. So Bitcoin belongs on the board, got its space for the day, and there you have it. So with all that said, I'm going to close the drawer on the bureau, and I'll see you next time.